Hello everyone, so today we're going to talk about the preterite in Spanish and the endings and when it's used. So the preterite is used when you are talking about something that you did or that had occurred in the past, and it's definitely done with. There is no question about it. So that's the preterite, that's when you use it. Let's look at the endings for regular. I want to go just a little deeper into when to use the preterite. So here are some common words and expressions that signal the usage of the preterite. This would be anoche, last night, anteayer, the day before yesterday, ayer, yesterday, de repente, suddenly, el fin de semana pasado, the weekend, the prior weekend, last weekend, el mes pasado, the past month, esta mañana, this morning, or una vez, dos veces, one time, two times, etc. So preterite is when an action has occurred in a specific time frame and it was completed, it's done with. So that's more specifics on when to use the preterite. So let's look at the regular preterite AR endings using the verb escuchar. So they are as follows: yo escuché, tú escuchaste, él escuchó, nosotros escuchamos, vosotros escuchasteis, y ellos escucharon. So in blue you will find the endings that you add to any regular AR verb when you're using it in the preterite. So an example sentence: ¿Dónde están las entradas que compré ayer? So compré is taking the verb comprar, which means to buy, and conjugating it in the yo preterite form. And this sentence basically just says, where are the tickets that I bought yesterday? So the preterite endings for regular ER or IR verbs are as follows: yo aprendí, tú aprendiste, él aprendió, nosotros aprendimos, vosotros aprendisteis, y ellos aprendieron. So I just used the ER verb, regular ER verb, aprender, and then I added the following preterite endings for each subject, which are in blue. So those are the endings that you'll add to the stem of every regular ER or IR verb when you're conjugating it in the preterite. So the example sentence that I have written down is: ¿Cuándo aprendiste a tocar la guitarra? When did you learn, so in the past, to play the guitar? So those are the regular verb scenarios, which are pretty easy. Now let's look into the irregular preterite scenarios, which are harder to remember for most people. So the first irregulars in the preterite are your car, gar, zar verbs, or verbs ending in either car, gar, or zar. So let's look at car verbs. In the yo form preterite, the C changes to a QU. So let's look at an example. And remember, this is only in the yo form preterite. So let's look at the verb tocar, which means to play. Tocar ends in car. So if we're conjugating it in the yo form preterite, so I played, then it would go to toque, which should have been, if I had conjugated it as if it were a regular verb, I would have gotten that. And that's pronounced tose, and we really want to preserve pronunciation, the hard k sound. So that is why the C changes to a Q, and you get, a QU, and you get toque. That's the right version, not tose. Let's look at zar verbs. So again, to preserve pronunciation in the yo form preterite, the Z changes to a C before the E. So let's look at the verb empezar, which means to start. So if I conjugated it as if it were just a regular verb, oops, my spelling, I would get empe. There really are no Z's in Spanish, so that just sounds weird. That's wrong. Instead, we apply this rule, and it becomes empecé. We started. We began in the past. Then lastly, let's look at gar verbs. So the G changes to a GU in the yo form preterite, again to preserve pronunciation. So let's look at the verb jugar, which is to play a sport or a game. So if I conjugated it as if it were just a regular verb, I would have jugué. So again, not preserving pronunciation, that's wrong. So I apply the rule and I get the correct form of jugué. Another rule for imperfect preterite verbs is the double vowel rule. So any verb that has two vowels side by side, such as leer, creer, oír, there's also destruir, etc. What you're going to do is change the I to a Y in the third person singular or plural preterite. So we're only focusing on third person with this rule. So let's look at the verb leer, which is a double vowel verb. You have two E's side by side. In the preterite, the conjugations are normal until you get to the third person conjugations, which is the el and ellos. This is third person singular, third person plural. So you can see that rather than having leyó, which just sounds choppy, instead of the I, you have a Y to make it sound smoother, leyó. Same with the ellos form. Instead of having leyeron, which is choppy, we replace the I with a Y and we get leyeron, which is much smoother on the tongue. So this is half of the irregular preterite rules that I'm covering in this video. To find the other half of the irregular preterite, there will be a second part to this video. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down below.